What is going on, guys? In today's video I will show you the best poison mercenary build in Path of Exile 2. So in this guide I will give you a quick overview of the setup, then I will explain what skill gems and upgrades should you focus on, then as well we'll see what is the best gear and how to get it for both the mid game and end game. And then finally we will go over the passive tree, attributes, your skill rotations, and even what atlas passive should you use, so we would be able to get the highest damage possible and much more. If you are looking for this build on the website, then click my link in this video's description or the pinned comment. This setup is known as the Toxic Poison build, where we are going to be dealing insane amount of damage with just the poison effects alone. Our playstyle is structured around specializing in dealing damage almost exclusively by the Plague Barrier, Gas Arrow and the Sniper. And because of our skill tree and the gear, we are going to be deleting trash enemies in split seconds. However, what I really like about this build is the fast speed farming potential, as you can keep moving while dealing insane amount of AoV damage. And then for the rares and bosses, we will use the Plague Barrier and the Snipe. That will turn everything into a dust and make the fight super fun. So if you want to stack as high poison as possible and use one of the highest DPS builds currently in the game, then let's get right into it. So let me show you the build, and for the main class I have chosen to go with the Mercenary, and our ascendancy is the Gemling Legionnaire. Then for the first skill we have the Barrage with the support gem such as the Perpetual Charge and the Premeditation. Then second we get the Herald of the Plague with no support gems. Then next we get the Sniper Mark with Inspiration and Profusion. Then next we have the Poison Burst Arrow with Corrosion, Comorbidity, Deadly Poison and the Chain. Next up we have the Plague Barrier with the Chaos Mastery, Physical Mastery and the Magnified Effect. Next we got the Gas Arrow with the Persistence, Scatter Shot and the Fount of Mana. Next we have the Snipe with the Heft and Venom, Window of Opportunity, Long Shot and the Arcane Tempo. Next we got the Rain of Arrows with the Withering Touch and Inevitable Critical. And finally, for the last ones we are using the Wind Dancer and the Blink. And for both of them we don't want to select any support gems. Most of this setup is structured around using the Plague Barrier and the Gas Arrow to delete enemies in seconds, so we use gems and skills that will support and increase their duration and damage, while the rest are powerful buffs and utility skills that usually get activated in the background. Next up we have our passive tree, and if you're interested in a full in-depth guide on how it works, then check out my beginner guide. So let's take a look at our setup, and we want to start at this projectile damage node, until we get to these three, so the Remorseless, Feel No Pain and the Battle Hardened. Next up we go to the right side and get both of these, so Heavy Ammunition and the Blur. Then next let's keep going and we want to take both of these, so Hold Focus and the Master Fletching. Then now let's keep going and again we want to take these three, so Stacking Toxins, Escape Velocity and the Freedom of Movement. Then from here let's now go to the bottom part and we want to get the Wasting and the Fast Acting Toxins. And then from here we can go back all the way from where we began and just unlock all the other nodes in whatever order you prefer. All of these nodes that we got are very useful, but the ones I mentioned have the top priority, as they're the most important ones to acquire early on in the game, to make our build functional, and then in the late game to make it even more powerful. Also, as far as attributes go, you just simply want to fulfill your attribute requirements for gear and skill gems, and then after that, spend the rest of your leftover attributes into more dexterity. And then now let's go all the way to the middle again, and for ascendancy build this is what we have. So at the beginning you want to unlock the adaptive capability, then second get the integrated efficiency, then third we want the crystalline potential, and then finally for our last one we want to go with the implanted gems. In PoE 2, earning skill points take a lot of hard work, so it will be very smart not to spend your points recklessly. Of course, you can refund your passive points later, but only at a cost, so following a specific setup is extremely useful. If you are following this build, then make sure to not to deviate from it, as some of the decisions that I made might not make sense at first, but is going to pay off later. So feel free to use the exact same path as I have right here. And don't forget to check this video's description to find the link for this website, and this should make it easier for you to follow the tree. Next up we have our Atlas passives, and the general idea behind this is to aim for bonus passives that spawn a lot of grouped up monsters, such as in expeditions or in rituals. So when we start we want to first of all go to the right side, and then get all of these nodes, and then keep going down until you get to this keystone called the Deadly Evolution. Then from here we circle back a little, and this time keep going up until we get to the second keystone called the Unstable Energies. And then from this point and onwards you can unlock the rest of the nodes in whatever order you want. But then on top of this, we have even more passives, which in order you unlock them doesn't really matter. So again, it's up to you. And this is how it should look like for the ritual. Then next we have Delirium. Then third we have the bosses. And then on top of that we have the pinnacle bosses. Then next we also have our expedition setup. And then finally we have our breach setup. Then now let's move over to our next part, which is the gear. And the weapon of our choice is the expert short bow, and for bonus stats we want increased physical damage, then also add physical damage to attacks, then even more accuracy, reduced attribute requirements, and grant life per every enemy hit. Then also we have an offhand called the penetrating quiver, with 100% chance to pierce an enemy, and this is a huge deal which will not only give us more kills, but also increase our damage, which I will explain in just a second. And then for more we want to add physical damage to attacks, increase projectile speed, increase damage with the bow skills, and more to attack speed. Then for the helmet we have the expert face mask with the evasion and energy shield. And for more we got even more increased evasion and energy shield. Then max life, more intelligence and resistances like fire and cold. Then for the chest we have the advanced studded vest with a lot of evasion rating. And for more we want even more evasion, more to spirit, which is the best place to get a high spirit count from. And then also we get fire, lightning and chaos resistances. Then for the belt we have the mail belt with reduced flask charges. And for more we need armor, max life, max mana, cold and lightning resistance, as well as life per every second. Then for gloves we got the advanced doubled gauntlets with armor and evasion. And for more we want even more evasion and armor. Then max life, increased critical damage bonus, increased attack speed and cold resistance. Then for boots we're using the advanced embossed boots with evasion. And for more we want increased movement speed, which again is the main place to get it from. Then also evasion rating and fire and cold resistances. Then for our first ring we got the ruby ring with the fire resistance. And for more we got more accuracy, increased evasion, max life, leech off physical attack damage as life, and also gain mana per every enemy killed. While then on the second one we have the topaz ring with the lightning resistance. And for more we need add physical damage to attacks, max life, more accuracy, lightning resistance and life regen per every second. And then finally for the amulet we got the bloodstone amulet with max life. And for extra stats we need evasion, max energy shield, max life, more to strength, and more percentage of damage taken we now recoup as life. So no matter which gear you choose, just at least try to get 75% resistance cap on all 4 elements. This is a starter setup, which should be more of an example of what stats and prefixes to look for. Then next we have runes. During early item progression, most gear is sacred with resistant runes. However, once your elemental resistances have been capped and resistant runes are no longer necessary, then you want to opt in to increase your maximum life with body runes or consider Sakting a soul core. So right now on our weapon we are using the iron rune. Then on our helmet we have the glacial rune. And then on the rest of our equipment we are using the storm rune. And as far as getting this gear goes, by far the best way to get better gear in the campaign is to check the vendor in the town each time you level up, as vendors can change their offerings based on your level. So this is the best way to find upgrades. And then after level 65, you just want to keep continuing repeating your maps until tier 16. And again, for more in-depth tutorial, check out my gearing guide video. Then on top of this, we need to quickly look into the charms. Charms are incredibly useful, as by having the right one equipped at the right time can save you from dying. If you are struggling with certain bosses, then look into what damage type they are using, and then use that specific charm to increase your resistance. For me personally, I like to use the Taving charm for when I become frozen. Then second, we want the Amethyst charm for chaos damage, as it's pretty hard to get it from other places. And then finally, for the last one, we want to go with the Ruby charm. But as I said, which one you choose will entirely depend on the enemies that you are fighting. So feel free to experiment and mix and match. And now finally, let's quickly take a look at how this build will work. So our main rotation and the highest DPS combo is to first of all mark the enemy, which afterwards we want to use the rain of arrows, or pretty much spam any other skill that can crit. But without a crit there's no frenzy charges gained, which means less damage if we don't set it up. So then, once we have anywhere from 1 to 3 of these charges, then now we want to consume them with the barrage skill, and then use the snipe. which in return will do massive amounts of damage. But then also, as far as weak enemies go, for them we simply want to run around and keep poisoning them, well then when we hit the plague barrier, it will blow them up even further. So let me know what you think about this build in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, then you definitely don't want to miss my top 3 best mercenary builds video, where I showed even more powerful builds, so click the screen now and I'll see you in the next one.